Stephen Squibbs presents this month's board certification tip.
And with us today is newly board certified attorney, Krista Mahalak out of Winter Haven, Florida. Krista, welcome and congratulations on this most epic achievement.
Thank you so much. Thank you for all the support through these CLEs and podcasts and different things you do on the web.
Well, it's my secret of staying up to date with the law, and just by doing this process makes it stick in my head forever. So you're actually like watching me learn this stuff because it takes a lot for this stuff to stick in my head. And speaking of sticking stuff in your head, the board certified family law test is a beast. And they give you core and subcore materials, and I think it's safe to say you're going to be tested on everything. How did you go about learning all of these areas they told you to study?
Well, I don't know if I learned all of them, but hopefully learned them enough to get through the exam. The key thing I think in the red books on the little chapters in the back that they at the board certification meeting in January at the presentation, they don't present on all of the topics, but there's a lot of little topics like interspousal tort immunity or military and divorce and those types of things that are in little sections in the back, and I think it's really important to try to do those.
Yeah, they make great true false short answer type questions. And what materials did you use when you were studying?
So I took the red books and I took the PDFs that you get from the review course, and I put them all on my Kindle. So I have two little kids, and so whenever I was doing stuff with them, like giving them a bath or doing whatever I was doing, if I was going places, I would have everything on my Kindle and I would read it that way. So I think that helped rather than like taking the giant red books of it.
Any other resources besides the board cert red books and looking at the law?
I mean, I literally read the statutes. I did always read your squibs also, but I would go through and read the entire statutes and was writing them out. I actually took the test twice. So the second year that I took it, I found that based on a tip I think I heard on this, somebody said, you know, you absorb the information a lot better if you write. And I think maybe I didn't have the best study skills going into this. So I did find that writing things out helped me retain them.
Yeah, that's the way I memorize everything. In fact, I have my squib book here. Is where you're in constant motion, and this is just a years of like case law material. I literally write every case out, and then my team types it up and edits it. But just the experience for me of using longhand to write something out, I've just learned that learning technique for me is the best, but other people use flashcards, sound device, like mnemonics. Some people just can memorize, some people are genius, and first time they see something, it sticks. But for me, I found if I can write it out, which is very labor intensive, but it works, and I was able to pass too. Did you take the first time you take it, was it the exact year before, or did you take a break?
It was the exact year before.
So you're the COVID years where you're doing it did you take the second test at home, or did you go to the central location?
I did take the second test from my office right here where I'm sitting.
And how would you describe those experiences? Because you did it twice.
The first time it was just as COVID was getting really bad. I don't know that had that much of an impact on it. I did think it was nice to be at my own desk with my own computer set up the way that I would typically do it, and just kind of more comfortable. And the hotel that they had you stay at that we stayed at is very nice, but it's just nice to be able to be at your own place, not have to travel at all. So if I had my choice to take it a third time, which hopefully will never have to happen. I would, if I had an option, I would probably do it in my own office.
I wonder if they're going to keep offering that as an option, because it is labor intensive, because all those proctors staring at you while you take the test for 6 hours or 8 hours. It's a little nerve wracking watching your eye contact and stuff. When I took it in 2004, we had blue books, and being able to take it on your computer was a new thing, and they would put software on your computer that locked everything, and I was just paranoid that would mess with me because it was one of the first years, so I just blue booked it. Did you write narrative answers to these essay questions, or did you just kind of outline bullet them?
I wrote narrative answers, and I also, I think I saw this tip somewhere, but I would organize the answers by, subtopic within it. So if it's an equitable distribution question and you're addressing the distribution of all the assets, you start with, your non-marital assets or something, and then home and stocks and things like that, just to sort of, nothing fancy, because you really don't have any time to be fancy, but I think it helps break up the answer maybe a little if you try to make some little quick headings.
Did you have any time left over after the questions, or were you basically up against the wall or running out?
Oh yeah, both times. I mean, I think the first year I really ran out on a question and maybe got, a third or halfway through the essay, and that I mean, it's just, as you know, it's all you can do to get words on the paper to answer all those questions in that amount of time. It's a real time crunch.
Do you have any other tips that you would offer folks that are either thinking about taking the test or gearing up to take the test next year and they're getting their apps in? What do you think?
I live in Central Florida, and so I don't have a lot of the same necessarily jurisdictional questions or issues come up in practice as much as maybe some of the South Florida attorneys. So if you're from a smaller community, I would encourage people to, where you don't run into a lot of those issues, to really focus on those, because it seems like that's something that's always going to be tested on, and they're more difficult concepts to kind of grasp and learn, I think, if you're not practicing those. And also, there's a smaller community of attorneys here where I didn't know anybody else locally who was taking the exam at the same time. So I did, take as many CLEs as possible and watch, these types of interviews you did and other things, just to kind of gain a sense of familiarity with the process. And, so that you don't feel like you're kind of doing it alone. You've got you and the other people involved in these kind of presentations who are supporting the community.
Well, cool. I bet you are going to know a lot more people now that you have this designation, because, it is only 6 people out of 20 something passed. And, since I've been involved for 20 years, there's been criticism that pass rate is too low and they make this test too hard. Now that you have, struggled and overcome, do you think that this test represents fairly, the knowledge base a board certified attorney should have?
That's such a challenging question. I mean, it's to put it in perspective, I think I don't know, at least like 10 times harder than the bar exam. And I took the bar exam in another state first and then came here. But I mean, the Florida bar exam, so people have their different opinions on how difficult that is. But I think this is far more challenging. So I don't have a good answer to that. I know people usually say, no, it's fair, but maybe there's more of a way to take off a little bit of the time pressure or make things a little bit less complex. But then it's also somewhat subjective. You do have real people grading the tests. I think all those people try to do their absolute best in grading them, but there is going to be a human element of one person might think an answer is better than the next tester, and they do everything they can to make it fair. So I wouldn't say it was unfair, but I don't know that I would necessarily say that it shouldn't be easier.
And after test 1, did you go look at the answers to see what you did and what you should have done?
Oh yes, I definitely did take the opportunity to review the answers. And I think because of, or I know it was remote, and I think if it wasn't COVID, I wouldn't have had that option. I think I would have maybe had to go to, maybe it's just Tampa, but I have a feeling maybe it was Tallahassee.
No, they make you go to Tallahassee to look at it. They make you go to the Florida bar, and you get like a couple hours, and you can bring one person, and you can look at it and make that decision if you're going to appeal it.
Yeah,
Was that
followed by how bad my answers
was looking at the model answers helpful in taking the test a second time to see what they were looking for?
I think so. I think that if somebody doesn't pass and they want to look at I'd say there's really no reason not to look at the model answers. I don't think there's a lot of repetition from year to year. I don't recall there being much repetition of even multiple choice answers or anything like that. Maybe there is a little bit, but it's not as though you're going to go and be like, oh, now I know the answer to that question. But I don't know any reason you wouldn't do it other than if you just can't make it work in your schedule. I think it'd be beneficial to see what their expectations are, because you read the model answer and you're like, wow, this person had like 8 hours to write just this answer. It's phenomenal.
I don't think they ever repeat questions. At least I was on the board cert for 6 years after I passed, and every year was a brand new test. And we took a lot of pride in writing those questions. And I cannot think of a more demanding Florida Bar Committee than the board cert committee. So now that you've passed, something to consider if you're looking for a way to serve the bar. That was a really good one. A lot of work, but a really fun experience. Well, Krista, we are super happy and proud of you. And the fact that our programming helps you in some way warms my heart, because it means we're doing something good. So thank you for your comments, and we look forward to see what you do with this awesome thing you have now attained in your career. You'll see it makes like an immediate difference, just because you get the swagger. So walk with confidence, and thanks for taking your time to share your wisdom with our listeners today.
Thank you so much.
All right, Krista, have a great day, and thank you so much.
You too.
And